Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. The topic of today's discussion is employee engagement and the benefits of a global and local approach at SGS. My name is Ritu Mohanka and I'm the head of EMEA for Glint, head of strategy for EMEA for Glint rather. And I've been in this sort of industry where we've seen a real sort of move, a shift from static global matrix surveys to a more world of agility. And I am super excited to welcome Anna to the conversation today. Anna, I would love for you to introduce yourself before we move on to the agenda.
So hi, and thank you, Ritu, for actually giving me the chance to share our experience with you today. So yeah, I'm Anna Bidaud. I am the Global Employee Engagement Manager at SGS, and I'm based in Lisbon, in Portugal. I've been with SGS now for almost 6 years, and since I joined, I actually held different positions. Initially, when I joined SGS, I was actually based in Switzerland, in Geneva, in our HQ, where I was working in our global HR department on different HR projects. And then after that, for a while, I was also managing our global performance management process. And now for the last 2.5 years, I'm leading our global employee engagement program. And I have to say, I consider myself pretty lucky because thanks to, of course, support of SGS and my manager as well, I had an opportunity to work and live in 3 different countries since I joined SGS, which is actually pretty great because although I was always part of the corporate teams, this also allowed me in a way to experience, I would say, a more local environment, which I think you can imagine it's pretty different from a corporate one. So I would say I'm pretty lucky for that as well.
That's amazing. And I know you'll share some of your global and local today, so I'm excited to hear more about that. So let me quickly just share the agenda before we move on to the conversation. Anna's going to focus a little bit on, first of all, introduce SGS a little bit, and then talk about why engagement matters within SGS. And then she's going to spend a lot of time talking about the importance of creating, sort of making sure that it's a global, but also very much a local approach from an ownership and accountability perspective. We'll then move on to talking about, why action taking, is important and how has SGS done that successfully with a few stories. And then the journey from here on at next steps when it comes to the employee engagement journey at SGS. So Anna, before you go on to start sharing about your engagement story, perhaps it'll be great if you could give us a little bit of an overview of who SGS is, and then maybe talk a little bit about how did you approach engagement and why does it matter so much at SGS?
Of course, happy to. So SGS actually is it's pretty interesting company. It's the world leading inspection, verification, certification, and testing company. And I have to say I'm very proud because we are recognized as the global benchmark for quality and integrity. And what we do is basically we are helping our clients meeting all regulatory and safety requirements across different regions, markets, ensuring that all the processes, services, product systems are really compliant with either national or international standards and regulations. We have a bit more than 89,000 employees, and we operate a network of more than 2,600 offices and laboratories around the world. And what I would say, it's it's adding a challenge on top of everything is that we are very much metrics organization, okay? So you can imagine that this does result in a certain level of complexity, especially when it comes to managing different global programs. And if I think now about our HR programs like performance management, career development, employee engagement, I mean, I have to say we do face quite some challenges when it comes to that. And maybe to move on, this was really in the nutshell about SGS. So Catalyst is our global employee engagement program, okay? And our employee engagement survey is, of course, the backbone of Catalyst. And the purpose, why are we doing the whole Catalyst? Why do we have this program in place in the first place? Is really to help us gather insights into how to best support our employees, okay? And what we observed, this was super helpful, especially now during the whole the lockdown period and when the whole pandemic started. All of that actually also helped us identify elements that help us define our, let's say, new normal, the new normality and the new reality. And the Catalyst is also highlighting, I would say, organizational strengths that we can use, that we can leverage. And on the other hand, is also highlighting what are the challenges that we should address, that we should focus on. And in addition, the Catalyst is also supporting constant feedback and dialogue between managers, different teams, employees. And this is really, let's say, helping us navigate not only this crisis, but everyday situation, and providing guidance, of course, for collaboration toward future success. To be fair with you, this year, when the whole pandemic started, it was quite a challenging year, and especially the challenging start of the year. We had quite some conversations around, should we even continue with Catalyst? Should we still keep this initiative? Should we pause it for a while? So we had a lot of discussions internally, and I have to say, thanks to Glint as well, we actually concluded that holding off to a more, let's say, favorable circumstances can really jeopardize the integrity of the whole program, of the whole initiative. And then what would be the pity if it would send a message to our employees that we only care about them, or let's say that we only want to hear from them when everything is going well, which is not the case. So I have to say that, yeah, regardless of whether or not employees' feedback is less or more positive now during the time of the pandemic, what is very important for us is to think about the results and how they will provide us with valuable insights, okay? Which of course then will enable us to make data-driven decisions, which is very important for us, and put in place some fact-based improvement actions based on all the employees' feedback and data that we are collecting. And maybe just to conclude here, really by running Catalyst, what we want to demonstrate to our employees is that we are focusing on continuous improvement. Okay, so this is really the key for us, and that we are not just focused now on measuring, you know, or receiving a favorable scores. So this is just in the nutshell the introduction of our global employee engagement program.
That's great. And when you start talking about, you know, how did you embark on what you started from a Catalyst perspective, it'll be great to hear, how did you sort of think about why SGS wanted to revamp employee engagement? Particularly, what was your previous state in terms of engagement, and how has it changed when it comes to the new approach?
Yeah, it was quite a journey, to be honest.
Sure.
So yeah, a lot has happened, to be honest, since I took over global employee engagement. But basically, why we have decided to revamp our program is because we, all the learnings from the past surveys, from past experience, showed us that this once a year global type of survey doesn't really work for us, doesn't correspond to our needs, doesn't work, to be honest, for our metrics organization. And we've been pretty diligent in I would say for the last 7 years, we were running engagement survey. So, you know, it was really a part of our culture. Okay, Catalyst is at SGS present for the last 7 years. And yeah, when I took over, we decided to reevaluate the whole program, the process, and mainly we listened to feedback from our affiliates, from our countries. And they were telling us that the surveying process was too rigid. It was, yeah, too complex in a way. So they were asking us for more flexibility, for more autonomy, ability also to, let's say, customize the survey and to make it more, or let's say, a better fit to their interests and circumstances of the country. In addition, there was also more and more demand from our employees for more frequent listening. And one thing that we realized, and this was quite a, I would say, a burning point for SGS, is that improvement actions that were always defined after these global annual engagement surveys were not really acted upon. Okay, there was no follow-up, which, as you can imagine, it was causing a lot of frustration among our employees, who obviously they took time to participate in the survey. And just to give you an idea, in the past we were asking them 50 questions. So that takes quite some time to answer. They provided their feedback, and then, if I put it a little bit bluntly, nothing happened. So this was, of course, causing a lot of frustration, and people were in a way a bit disappointed by the whole process, by the program. And in addition, we also, I had to say, I connected a lot with the peers from other companies to share, to kind of see what are they doing, what are the best practices out there, what are the trends. And we came to one conclusion, that we need to put in place more efficient and user-friendly process, okay? So let me now jump to my next slide, where I can kind of introduce what has happened. It has been a journey. So we decided to basically change this catalyst centralized model with, as I was saying, once a year type of annual global engagement survey to a more hybrid approach, okay? So we introduced also what we call Catalyst Pulse. So more decentralized, on-demand surveying approach, with the final objective, of course, to make the process more efficient and also in a way more attractive to our countries, to our affiliates. So what you can see here now, on one side, we have Global Catalyst. So this is still, as you probably know it, annual engagement survey that we are still running globally once a year. But we have simplified that as well. So what we've done, I told you earlier that we had in the past 50 questions that we were asking. So each participant had to answer those 50 questions. So we have actually simplified this quite drastically. Now we are asking 10 questions. So let's say it's mandatory for each participant to answer 10 questions that we believe are the most important, that are measuring, let's say, the most important topics for SGS. And in addition, countries are able to define optional questions that they would like to include in this global catalyst engagement survey as well. So together with Glint, we have defined like a library of questions. So countries are now, going into this library, and then they are selecting some additional questions that they would like to include. I have to say, we are really good with managing, let's say, the number of questions. So we are not ending at the end with 50 questions like in the past. What we notice in average is that countries select 5 to 10 more additional questions. So in total, we rarely have more than 20 questions that we're asking. And the whole idea behind it is really to get more a holistic view on the areas where we really need to focus, that we should really address, and of course drive the improvement actions. And then on the other hand, we have what we call now Catalyst Pulse. So this is a surveying program which was created in the framework of our global Catalyst employee engagement survey. And these Catalyst Pulse surveys are allowing us to initiate regular ad hoc on-demand feedback from any group of employees. So basically it's not focused only on the country. So anyone, can set up the survey and can be launched to teams, to a group of individuals, to even country. So the flexibility is there, and it can be launched at any time. And the purpose is really to foster an ongoing process of learning, feedback, and change. So all these pulse surveys are very short. So short to complete, easy to set up and launch, I have to say as well. They're flexible. So that means that they are customizable to best fit the interest of course, the countries, the affiliates, or the teams. And they're very, very specific, which means they provide feedback on specific topics, business areas, or initiatives. And one thing that we observed so far is that these catalyst pulse surveys are also very great to measure the effectiveness of the actions that were put in place as a result of the global catalyst survey. So now we can really see, okay, are there any improvements? Do we observe any changes? Has something happened or not? So I have to say, yeah, quite a transformation. So maybe just to summarize here, the Catalyst program and this pulse service that we have implemented are really for us are essentially check-ins, and providing a pulse checks on different topics and initiatives, so we can measure at the end and improve really, let's say, employee engagement, attitudes, and experience on many different aspects and stages of employee life cycle, what you can see here as well. And yeah, as I was saying already earlier, it's really, really beneficial to have that now in place, because we can really measure the success and effectiveness of the action plans that were put in place as a result of the global catalyst survey. So yeah, that's in the nutshell what happened.
That's amazing, Anna. If you don't mind, I have two questions for you.
Sure, sure.
First question, what early successes have you seen with this approach?
All right, yeah, that's a very good question. So as I already mentioned, one of I would say the benefits is really now we can see what are the actions that were taken, or what actions were initiated as a result of the global catalyst survey, which was one of the painful points for us as well, because as I was saying earlier, a lot of times managers they define the actions together with their teams, but then nothing happened. There was no follow-up, no feedback sessions or whatsoever. So now we are able with pulse service really to measure that. In addition, what we are observing is the feedback we are receiving is really, really positive. It's not only because the system, or let's say the whole process is a bit more pragmatic, because it gives opportunities to countries to focus and measure areas that are truly important for them and truly relevant at a given time. But what we see as well is that it's much faster and simpler to launch the service. Okay, it's not like in the past where we had to prepare for months and months, to get ourselves organized around launching a simple small survey. This is super easy. I mean, all the results are gathered in one platform. The insights and the sentiment analysis that we can do with the tool, it's really, really valuable. And what I observe now is that we had some, I would say, early adopters of the pulsing approach. We have some countries that absolutely love it. And yeah, they are launching now recurring surveys. They measure trends, and then I see now that they're also, based on the outcomes of these pulse surveys, they're also defining their strategy. For example, for HR, and even for other departments, especially linked to innovation. So we see a huge added value.
That's amazing. Wow, it's so good to see early successes. In terms of advice, so for example, if other organizations are considering making this change, moving from a one global once a year survey to an approach SGS taking, what advice would you give those organizations?
Oof, it's a very good question. So what I would say is, this is a lesson learned from my side, to be honest, is don't neglect the power of communication and training. I mean, I really put lots of efforts into communicating with our HR colleagues and other stakeholders as well. And what I did is, maybe it's interesting to share that as well, is we have kind of a catalyst community. So with them, on a regular basis, I share, any kind of news updates linked to the platform, or if we have any kind of best practices, then I share this across our community. So this has been working really, really well. I have to say, we use this kind of on a daily basis. And then we also built a training curriculum, which is basically mandatory for our, let's say, Catalyst champions, for our Catalyst community to complete before they actually even get the access to the Glint platform, and they start using all the reports and all the insights. Because in all fairness, the one of the feedbacks that I received very early at the beginning is, wow, it's so overwhelming. There's so many things that I can do, and so many reports and so many insights. Where do I start? Wow. So we really observed, people were in a way a little bit overwhelmed. So yeah, I built this learning curriculum, so to kind of guide them through the process. So how do you first launch the survey? How do you manage your population to, okay, now you have the results, what can you do with results? What are the best practices? How you can put in place action plans, what you should be considering as well. So really, what I try to do is focus more on the training and the communication, just to build awareness around it. And also to equip our champions, our community, and to make them, with the purpose of making them feel comfortable, so they are comfortable using the tool, and they understand what they can do with it, how they can really put in place some initiatives based on the insights as well.
Great, thank you very much, Hannah. Should we talk a little bit about the takeaways from your recent pulses?
Yeah, so it has, as I said, busy year for for us, I'm sure for all of us. But yeah, what we did actually is from end of April until mid-June, we roll out a series of what we call a pilot COVID-19 pulse surveys, to basically check on how our employees are doing during the confinement. So we created, what we've done is, it's quite interesting, and it worked really well. We created a global COVID-19, let's say, template that could be then just, let's say, reused from our champions to launch the COVID-19 pulse survey in their country. And then they were also able to, let's say, customize it a bit, add some questions, or maybe remove some questions. And that worked really, really well, because countries had already all, let's say, the most important items captured in this template, and all the translations, all the standard translations were already available. So it really saved a lot of time for them. So yes, and this pulsing kind of served as, let's say, a stress test on how the Catalyst Pulse module will work in our organization. And as you can see, we had 13 countries and 1 sub-region participating, with more than 7,500 employees. And in total, we had 63% response rate, which we believe for the first timers was quite well. And as I was saying, since then, some countries have fully adopted really the pulsing, and they run now recurring pulse surveys to measure trend and improvements. But what I want to highlight here is that this COVID-19 pulse surveys really truly helped us uncover some important information for organization crisis strategy. And it also helped employees feel heard and involved. And it was a really great opportunity for employees to share what was on their mind in relation to COVID-19, how it was impacting their work, how it was impacting also their private lives, because it's all now so very much integrated. And yeah, what we see here, some of the high level consolidated outcomes is really that we can see that what we can do well. So there are some things that we do very well, and that was, in all fairness, not a surprise for us. We expected these areas to score pretty high. But what was more important, and this is what I would like to highlight, that with the pulse service, we uncover what are the areas that we really should improve and target. And as you can see here, communication. So we realized we should do more around communication to our employees during these times of distress. And then also making sure they feel more connected. Most of them were working from home. They were in very strict lockdown, so they feel a bit isolated. So we need to put in place some initiatives to bring them, let's say, closer together. And another area that was requiring more focus from our side was also making them feel more productive while they are working remotely, because some of them simply didn't have, I don't know, all the equipment, or they had, like, I don't know, internet connectivity issues or whatever. I mean, it was really beneficial to get these insights out of these pulse surveys.
Very much resonates with some of the data that we have collected. So let me share quickly my screen, and I'm going to share what Glint has seen in the recent past, I should say. Apologies. So of course, since 18th of March, Glint has of course collected a huge amount of data across all of our customers. And it's about around 7 million data points. And as you can see on the screen, some of the items that our customers are asking in their surveys, just as SGS is doing around communication prioritization. One of the key things you can see is that it's, some of the key drivers of engagement, particularly during times of distress. And we always say there's no one size fits all question set, exactly as the approach you're taking, Anna, at SGS. So what we've done at Glint is we've developed a bank of questions for our customers that they can pull from. So for example, some organizations are really needing to focus on enabling and connecting their employees through remote work, especially in March and April, a lot of that was happening. But those items aren't necessarily for organizations with large population of particularly essential workers who are still going into the workplaces. So it's really allowing organizations to pull the right content based on what we've designed around distress surveys. It's also important to say that we want to make sure that these surveys are kept short. Anna, you've said this several times. Challenge yourself almost to have 6 items or less when it comes to distress surveys or pulses you're running. Some of our customers are even asking only 2 questions to make it as short as possible. And the first one sometimes is about support. This can give you a really quick sense of whether there are pockets of the organization who need support. And then of course, we always recommend augment that with an open-ended question at the bottom. So what are the trends? What have we seen from all of the 7 million data points we've collected? One of the first things we're seeing is that first of all, let's sink that in. It's a lot of data. It's a huge set of data. And what it tells us is this does not represent backing off of organizations that are worried about employees, how they're doing. Overwhelmingly, we found that organizations are very happy to ask their employees. And the flip side to that was employees are really happy to give feedback. They're very happy to be asked. The other thing we found was that employees are giving us actionable insights. Really gone are the days of providing a shopping list of HR problems to solve. They feel quite involved in helping build the future. And when we think getting people at the workplace and what's next, then it's even more important to receive actionable feedback than it may have been in the past, so that we can really work on things that matter. And some of the key things we are seeing from a insights perspective is that we know that organizations are constantly responding to employees' needs. Their culture is being galvanized, that it's being strengthened through simply going to employees and asking them what they're thinking and what they need today and how can they be successful and happy at work. Organizations are really taking advantage of showing that in the face of adversity, we're going to behave in a way that helps demonstrate our values, reaffirms our culture, and even our long-term commitment to employees that work in our organization. But of course, on the flip side, we're also seeing some constraint, definitely some strain. Very much recently, we are seeing doubling in burnout levels. We know that the sense of connection is being strained, just as you said, Anna. and probably more so at the beginning of the pandemic, but certainly still we're seeing organizations and people who are used to working in a certain way, they're feeling quite distant physically as well as metaphorically. And then finally, in terms of the key, if you like, three key takeaways I take personally from the data is the three C's, as I say. First is a connection, which is absolutely critical. I talked about it in the previous slide as well. People need a strong sense of connection to their companies and co-workers. The relationship of this happiness increased 12% between March and May, and people who feel a strong sense of connection are 3 times more likely to say that their company cares about their well-being, and 4 times more likely to feel that they are being supported. The second C, capability, learning, upskilling, and reskilling has it re-emerged as the top 3 need for employees upon the return to work. 63% of employees want more opportunity for learning, and employees who feel good about learn and grow are 3.6 times more likely to be happy and 2.9 times more likely to report that they will be with the company in 2 years. Some really fascinating insights. And then finally, choice. Employees who feel empowered to make decisions regarding their work, including internal mobility decisions, are 3 times more likely to be engaged. I'm sure, Anna, this resonates with you and with your data. And then I'm going to keep sharing my screen. Perhaps I'd love to hear from you now next in terms of action taking and what action taking mechanisms have you put in your organization?
So yeah, as I was saying already, I mean, the insights that we received with all this pulse surveys regarding the COVID-19 were really, really powerful. And what we observed as well is that countries that run them, they were able to define different outcomes, such as you can see here, what are the top needs that are critical for our employees in times of course, distress, anything from, yeah, we mentioned it already, job security, also sense of safety and at work, healthcare, health-related information, also flexible work arrangement, child or family care arrangements. And also, on the other hand, what are the key challenges that our employees are facing while working remotely or while getting back to work? As I was saying earlier, internet connectivity, social isolation was a big challenge. Even physical workspace, also balancing the stress that, of course, I mean, it was really rising up. So yeah, what we've seen is that some improvement actions, let's put it like that, were taken locally. For example, you see, I mean, on the slides, only few of them really. Some countries were, I have to say, very creative. They have organized different sessions, online sessions like meditation, yoga, even fitness sessions. I've seen that as well. Some of our colleagues also organized a weekly trivia competition to really kind of help with the connection, to bring people, even if, you know, working remotely, you feel more closer together as a team again. And you see also some other initiatives, but even globally, basically, we were able to define some initiatives that we put in place. One of them that worked very well was Ask Me Anything session that we organized with our senior leaders. And we introduced different campaigns, even a drawing contest for kids, which worked. I have to say, we received a really positive feedback as well. So we really try to engage our employees and kind of feel bring them closer together, make them feel like, okay, although they are working remotely, they are still, you know, part of one team, and we are still one company. So that was very critical. The pandemic, I mean, the whole situation is maybe a bit calmer at the moment, but it's still not over. So there are lots of more initiatives, a lot of more things that we are putting at place at the moment. So I'm sure I can share more, you know, in few months' time again.
Great, thank you. And that's what we say, you know, I love hopefully a lot of people are taking inspiration from this. Normally what tends to happen is a lot of people automatically assume that action involves big committees and task forces organized at organization level. Whilst it is important that response teams review results as an input into, whatever their current response plan is, but if you think back to what employees need right now, it's things like focus, resources, and well-being, many of which can be more directly influenced at the manager and team level. So one of the most important things to do is to release results to your managers and encourage them to have a conversation. A simple conversation that ends in action is more than enough to be able to drive action taking and perceptions of action taking. So Anna, from here onwards, I'd love to hear next steps, what's next in the journey of employee engagement at SGS?
Yeah, quite a journey, I, I have to say, and quite a year. So, although, I mean, we revamped our engagement program, of course, our journey is not over yet. We are still in the process of training, communicating, and so on. But I would say one of my next challenges or next stops is I really would like to better understand what aspects of employee experience have the biggest influence on our business results. So what are our highly engaged teams or business units doing differently to really drive the success? And of course, with the support from Glint, we will together identify the links between the employee opinions data, which of course are reflecting our culture, our leadership, our behavior in the work, and then connecting them with various business indicators and metrics. So with the helping, of course, of our new pulsing approach and the Glint platform, we can truly measure the fluctuations that we observe in engagement or in manager and team effectiveness and overall employee experience when we are implementing, I don't know, different initiatives or, we're going through a change. So as I said, in a way, I feel like we are only at the beginning of this journey. But what really truly pleases me is that since we started, we see amazing changes and shifts. And honestly, I'm truly, truly grateful, and I cannot be more thankful to Glint to really be with us along the way. And I feel that we are really truly partner with you guys. So thanks again for all your support.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'm so delighted to have you today and share your story. It's a fascinating one, and hopefully a lot of people will take a lot of inspiration from it and ideas from it as well. But again, I just wanted to say thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your time today for the webinar, and thank you for sharing your story. For listeners, call to action. If you have any questions, if you want to know a little bit more about Glint, feel free to visit our website for more information or contact us. I won't volunteer, Anna, but certainly contact me if you have any questions.
Yeah, I'm also available for any questions, of course.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you. And look forward to speaking to you soon again.
Thank you all. Bye.